Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me in this presentation. I really hope that it is helpful for our community. My name is Madeline Smith. I'm a housing counselor and a financial coach at Community Action Services and Food Bank. Many of you in our community might be aware of Community Action Services and the services that we provide. And we, like everyone else during this really tough and difficult time, are trying to navigate these uncharted waters. And we're trying to serve our community the best that we can. And it was suggested that the Financial Learning Center host a financial management class online that might be a resource for individuals and families who might be really struggling with their finances during this time. And it is completely understandable why we are experiencing these hardships, because many of us are losing work or losing hours. And for someone who is living paycheck to paycheck, obviously that's going to present a financial difficulty for your family and for your household. So we came up with this PowerPoint presentation and this meeting in the hopes to reach our community who might be struggling with some tips, some ideas on how to manage your finances during a financial crisis, and hopefully some resources that you might find helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this presentation that I've created. And if at the end of this presentation you would like some more specialized resources that are more fit specifically for you and your family, please give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to research any resources in the community that might be available for you in your situation. And if you would like to develop a personalized budget with me and a personalized spending plan, again, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, as I would be happy to help. So we're just going to move along. And the first thing that I think is really crucial for everybody right now is to understand the resources that are available in our community. So the first one that I put up is our agency, Community Action Services and Food Bank. Now, I apologize if my message box, I'll move that up a little bit so that you can see the whole PowerPoint. So Community Action Services and Food Bank offers emergency food assistance and utility help. Those are just two of the most common resources that we find are very applicable during this time. Community action is dedicated to fostering self-reliance within individuals, families, and the community. We do that through emergency food assistance, as it is available in the food pantry here. Although we are doing things a little bit differently, we're not having families go through the food bank, but rather we're having families wait in their cars in our parking lot after they sign in. They'll record how many people are in your family, and then they'll bring out a box of prepackaged foods that have been assembled by our volunteers. And it depends on how many people are in your family. So we're doing it a little bit differently, of course, to help with with reducing spreading of germs, and hoping to do our part in that. Other services include utility shutoff assistance. So if you are behind on your utility bills and you receive your utilities through Orem City, Provo City, or Spanish Fork, we might be able to help you. There are a couple of qualifications that you need to meet. You have to be experiencing a hardship, which is very common right now. And you have to have received a shutoff notice, or you are behind on your bill and your next one is due. If so, you can call me and we can see if you are eligible and how much you would be eligible to receive, so that your utilities are not shut off. We also assist with UTA vouchers if you're needing to get to someplace like a job interview. we can assist with that. Emergency motel vouchers. Circles is also a program that we have here at Community Action Services, but we're put on hold for right now for Circles. And a homebuyer education class, which again is put on hold pending the current circumstances. So let's see. Just a note that we are a HUD certified counseling agency. So if you would like to discuss housing affordability or housing options, please give me a call. I'd be happy to discuss that with you. Also in our community, we have SNAP, which is just food stamps, and you apply to that through Department of Workforce Services. And they also handle unemployment benefits, food stamps, and Medicaid in addition to that. NeighborWorks is a really great resource that we have in our community, NeighborWorks of Provo and Salt Lake. And they specialize with foreclosure counseling as well as reverse mortgage counseling. So I would point you in their direction if you wanted to learn more about your loss mitigation options. And lastly, the last resource that I have on here that I think is applicable to our community during this time is the Fuller Center for Housing of Utah County. And the Fuller Center is a very new organization. It's a nonprofit, and this is a program that provides assistance to homeowners in need of home repairs, but who are unable to afford the work and or the supplies themselves. So the repairs are meant to improve the energy efficiency and safety of our residents and are geared towards helping homeowners stay in their homes. Income limits do apply. It is a loan, but because the labor is donated by volunteers and they purchase the products at reduced costs, it's a very reasonable loan, and they make the terms. So it can be very flexible and very reasonable. If you would like more information on that, again, contact me. All right. So for those of you in our community who are homeowners and you are wondering what all of this means for you, I have a couple of things that I'd like to share with you. The first being a major key is just communicating with your servicer. And that is a person who you send your payments to each month. Understand your loss mitigation options upfront. So as soon as you see trouble, you want to contact your servicer, because your options, they tend to get more and more limited the longer that you wait and the longer that you fail to make a payment and or communicate. So I know at this time, the federal government is ordering mortgage companies to allow people who have lost their job or income to make reduced payments or to skip payments. To qualify, you need to have suffered a financial hardship related to the coronavirus outbreak. That makes you unable to meet those basic living expenses. So this includes lost work because your business has shut down. It could mean that your hours are just reduced because you're not able to work as much, or if one of your family members or yourself is ill. Or you'll be caring for a sick family member. So if any of those items apply to you, then know that you could be eligible for some relief packages in the form of delayed or skipped payments. Now, I do want to make it very clear that you do need to communicate with your lender. You need to call the company that you normally send your mortgage check to every month and tell them that you're having a financial hardship and explain your situation, and they'll be able to walk through the options with you. It's very important that you understand the new terms of the loan, because for many, it's not simply a skipped payment. It's not that easy. You need to understand that there may very well be a repayment period where in 6 months, you'll be expected to make additional payments on your mortgage to make up for this missed one. Or it could be that they extend the terms of your loan. If you are in a 30-year mortgage, maybe they stretch it out to 33 years. So it's just on you to speak to your servicer and understand those terms. And that's why I really want to urge any homeowners who might be in this situation to contact NeighborWorks. And I have their contact information at the end of this presentation so that you can contact them. They provide counseling services, so they can walk you through this process that you probably never expected to be in it. So they just know that it's not as easy as just skipping a payment for the month. For renters, on the other hand, your situation may be a little bit different than homeowners. It's going to be the same in that communication to your landlord is key. If there's a state ban on evictions, know that you may still owe back rent in the future if you're unable to pay this month's rent. If the government says that you don't have to pay your rent and there's a ban on evictions, you should still do whatever you can to pay your rent. There may be major repercussions when eviction bans are lifted. So don't think of this or next month as a free month unless you receive such notice from your landlord. It entirely depends on your landlord. I've heard of landlords saying to their tenants, don't worry about this month. Don't worry about making it up. Just don't worry about it. Whereas other landlords, they're going to expect this payment at a later date, and they're able to set the terms for that. You will want to ask for it in writing, because anything that is just a verbal communication can't be verified. It's your word against theirs. But again, please don't think of this as a free month. And to keep in mind that your landlord, they have bills that they need to pay as well. They have a mortgage on your property, most likely. So in order to keep you in the home, they need to pay their bills as well. So do whatever you can to make that payment. It is very encouraged. But again, starting with that communication. So now that we've gone over a couple of the resources that are available to you in the community, I hope that some of those you find applicable to you. I wanted to briefly go over some financial management tips and principles. Now, these are broad principles that I teach on a daily basis. They're unchanging. You'll find these principles are the same whether you are in a financial crisis or not. It's just about being wise and being prudent. But if you don't have practice in this area, then you might be feeling like now is a time that you want to get a handle on your finances. So the first thing that we need to do when establishing a sustainable household budget is distinguishing our needs versus our wants. And you're probably already in that process of saying, well, I can't afford what I could a month ago or 2 months ago. And that's a great indicator of your needs versus your wants. You're seeing how you can live without one thing versus another thing. So if you look in the column that's on the left, that starts with housing, that goes through electricity, water, food, clothing, insurance, job, transportation. If you remove one of those things from the list, how would your life change? It would be a very drastic and critical change. However, what would happen if you removed something on the right column, such as entertainment, vacation, eating out? I know we've already cut out a lot of those things right now, as is, but things like premium cable, things that normally when things are great and normal, we're able to have most of these things, if not all of those things. But during a financial crisis, it is essential that you determine and distinguish between needs and wants. A recommendation in general is to avoid long leases. You can switch your carriers, switch TV services, eliminate monthly subscriptions. Those are things that you can easily get out of. Whereas if you're in a 2-year phone contract and a financial crisis hits, it's going to cost you to get out of that contract. So in general, I suggest that you only subscribe to month-to-month services with your phone plans, with your TV services, so that when you're experiencing a hardship, you can tell yourself, you know what, I can't afford it this month. And the beauty of that is when you get back on your feet and everything returns to normal, you can resume that subscription. We also discussed the step down method, which I think again we're experiencing a lot of, and it has to do with cutting your expenses, but not necessarily cutting out everything, because when we cut out everything, we can be left feeling unfulfilled and unhappy. So if this is an example pre-COVID-19, if your family wanted to go to the movies, and that was a tradition every week, you can see how that expense could add up very quickly. You buy the tickets, you buy the popcorn and candy and the drinks, and pretty soon you're looking at a pretty large expense. Whereas the step down method, you could rent a Redbox movie for $1 or a Google movie and rent it for $5. Make your own popcorn, make your own drinks, have your own snacks, and you can save a lot of money while still having that tradition. So that's one example, again, pre-COVID-19. But I'd encourage you and your families to discuss some things that you could step down from in your average budget, in your household budget. So with creating a budget, don't think that you don't need a new budget during this time. When your situation changes, you need to account for those adjustments. You will not be able to operate on the same budget as you did even just a month ago. If your income has been reduced, or if you've lost your job and you're now depending on unemployment, and you're relying on government checks, when your situation changes, you need to adjust your budget because you aren't able to sustain those same expenses. You need to account for those adjustments in order to be in control. If you don't write it out and follow it, you're actually giving permission to your money to control your life. And we don't want that. That's where the stress comes in. So the first thing that you want to do is look at your income right now. How much is coming into your household? Look at all sources: benefits, Social Security, relief check, food stamps, anything that is coming into your household. You want to account for it so that you can equally distribute those funds. And with expenses, we generally recommend that you track expenses for a month to get an accurate sense of what you're truly spending month to month. And again, this is going to be different from even just a month ago. We also want to always encourage savings and making savings a priority. Right now, we are really feeling the effects of either having savings, having a reserve fund, or not. And we're really seeing why it is so vital to have savings and making it a priority in our lives. Consider it an expense. Pay yourself first, even now, because you don't know how long this situation is going to be prolonged. So continue to make savings an expense and a priority. When you calculate your expenses and your income, hopefully you have a balance. You have a positive number that's staring back at you. If it's a negative number, You know that you need to go back through your budget and prioritize. Go back to those needs versus wants and see what is truly essential and what you can cut back on. In this way, you can minimize some categories and prioritize others. And hopefully, when you finish that process, you're left with a balance with which you can set goals. So just a note in regards to your relief checks that should be arriving. I say should, I'm not quite sure, I'm not in charge of it, either within this week or within the next week or so. I hope that you are wise. One strategy that might help families is to create a budget. There's that magic word again, and put a name on every single dollar that you expect to come into your household. Families who make a plan before it hits their bank account are much more likely to follow through and to spend that money wisely. You know how much your family is going to expect because we've been told that a married couple will receive $2,400. With each additional child will receive $500. So you know what to expect. So if a family is going to receive $3,900 in relief check money, they can sit down and say, okay, $200 is going towards April utilities, $200 for May utilities, $1,200 for April mortgage, $1,200 for May mortgage, etc. And continue down that line of your priorities with your housing, your utilities being at the very top of that pyramid, and then just branching down and giving every single dollar in for your income a name and a job. That way, you already have a plan. All that's left to do is to follow through. So you're not going to be wondering what you should spend your relief money on. You already have a plan. And you'll be less likely to see it as a huge influx of cash and a lump sum of money. Because when that happens, our brains just automatically go to, oh, I can spend money on this, I can pay for that. But if you break it down and you put $1,200 towards mortgage for 1 month and $1,200 towards next month's mortgage, you're very less likely to see that as a huge amount of money because it's really not. Once you start breaking it down, you see that it goes by very quickly. So this is an example of the budget worksheet that I use in my budget councils, sessions with clients. And you'll see that it has different lines for employment and income sources so that you can total everything up. And then you can list all of your projected expenses. And here's another tool that you might find helpful, is a monthly spending plan. So right here, I put down examples of what a spending plan might look like for the month of April and part of May. You can see when those things are due, and you can see how much you're planning on spending and when that money hits your account so that you can divvy up expenses throughout the month. But that might be a really helpful tool, especially when you're trying to manage unemployment benefits that are coming in every week or every other week, along with the stimulus check, so that you can map out your spending. These are documents that I have available, and if you would like them, you can email me and I'd be happy to send them your way. So unfortunately, it's not enough to simply write down a budget. Your money problems do not go away just because you wrote a budget. You have to follow through and you have to track your expenses. Your money issues are resolved when you track your expenses, you account for your spending, and you compare the actual numbers to your original budget so that you can see the discrepancies and say, okay, in this area, in this category, maybe it's groceries. I really need to adjust my expectations, or I really need to keep a better eye on how much I'm spending in this particular category. Because I guarantee you, once you track your expenses and your spending, it will be an eye-opening experience. And when you look at that comparison between your actual spending and your original budget. So it's not just enough to write down your budget. You need to follow through and you need to track your expenses, especially during this time where every dollar may be critical. So this is an activity that I do with a lot of my clients. We call it the spending detective. Be your own spending detective. You need to look at every item that took money out of your account, every bill withdrawal purchase, every cash back that you received at Smith's, and place it into a category. One really interesting note and statistic that just blows my mind every time I read it. It's estimated that the average family wastes 30% of its money through unexamined spending. That's, your random trips to 7-Eleven for the treats after the soccer game. That's your cash back at Smith's for date night. Just things that you didn't plan for, that in the moment you're like, oh, it's just going to be something a little extra. 30% of your money, it's estimated, that you waste in those unexamined spending and those unexamined purchases. So by taking the first step in simply paying attention to your habits, you can give yourself a 30% pay increase by creating a spending plan and tracking it. So that is my challenge to you, to not only create a new budget for your household, but also to track your spending to make sure that you're following your budget. All right, another resource for our community is just learning how to make it work. We talked about having a balance at the end of calculating all of your income and your expenses and your budget. You want that positive balance because that means you're in good shape and your money it's working for you. However, if you find that even after doing all of the cutting and slashing to your expenses, that your budget is still telling you that you have a negative balance, there are only two ways to make it work. And you either have to increase your income or you have to reduce your expenses. So a couple of tips on reducing your expenses. Online grocery shopping is still an available tool. I know that Smith's, Target, and Walmart, they are still operating their online grocery shopping systems. That is a fantastic way to be able to track your spending. It does it for you. So you're not surprised when you get to the end of the checkout line and you see that grand total. You know, every time you put something into the cart, it adds it up for you. So it's a great way to keep you accountable. You should also shop with a list, even when you're online grocery shopping. Something that I love about online grocery shopping is that I don't have to walk past those aisles of goodies that are so tempting. I know that they're not on my list, but when I'm online, I don't even see them. They're not there. Another suggestion for right now is to eliminate subscriptions. And you can talk with your family, decide what is prudent, but now is the time to eliminate unnecessary spending. And again, going back to discussing, what do we really need? What can we live without for a while? You want to stop credit card purchases. If you are, now some people, like myself, some people use their credit cards to build up their credit. They don't spend more than 30% of their credit limit and they pay it off at the end of every month. and they use it like a debit card, like they would a debit card. They have the money in the account to pay it off. If you don't have the money in your account to pay off your credit card, you need to stop credit card purchases, because after that grace period, that interest that's going to be charged is going to add up very quickly, and it's only going to create another financial crisis in the future. And then another thing is contact your lenders. If you have a car loan, a mortgage, a credit card bill, contact your lenders to see what they can do, because they do have loss mitigation plans. And again, the more that you're open with them and more that you're willing to contact them and reach out to them, the more willing they are to help you in your situation. They are really the only people who can change the terms on your loans. So it's them who you want to contact. In increasing income, a couple of ideas. A lot of people are donating plasma. The plasma centers are still open. It's considered an essential business. So that could be a great way to supplement your income that's been lost. You can sell items online. Again, what do we really need right now? What can we live without? And if you think about it, when the financial crisis is over, you can buy that thing new. Save up for it and think of it as a treat. But for right now, maybe it's something that you could live without. You can also advertise services online, such as cleaning or dog walking, babysitting. There are a lot of workers who are in essential businesses, such as healthcare. And daycares are closed. So maybe you know someone who needs to go to work still, but doesn't have childcare, and you can offer that service. I'm not suggesting that we go against CDC regulations or state and local regulations, but to be wise, to still consider the risks, and so that we're still being good, responsible citizens. But those might be some options you might want to look into. And also a temporary job. Look on Indeed and enter hiring immediately. Just off the top of my head, places who are hiring immediately: Smith's, a lot of fast food companies, Sam's Club, they're another place that's hiring people immediately. Amazon, they're hiring at their Salt Lake facility immediately, and it's good pay. So if you need a temporary job just to get by, it really doesn't matter what it is. You just need that additional income temporarily. So on these last few slides, you will have this presentation handy. Hopefully you'll be able to save it or refer back to it. But these last two slides are just contact information for a couple of those resources that I discussed at the beginning of this presentation, such as Community Action. You have our phone number, our address, and our website if you want to learn more about any of the programs that I touched on. Department of Workforce Services, you have their website, and again, they can help with Medicaid, unemployment benefits, and SNAP. So see if you can qualify for any of those programs. And Tabitha's Way is located in American Fork, and that's a food pantry. And you can contact them. And lastly, the information for NeighborWorks and Fuller Center for Housing of Utah County. Fuller Center is, again, the nonprofit that I touched on briefly that helps homeowners stay in their homes by helping them with needed repairs. And the NeighborWorks for homeowners who are considering foreclosure or who are at risk of foreclosure. Contact them for loss mitigation options. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you would like access to any of the budgeting materials or additional resources that I have access to, please feel free to reach out. If you'd like to do a one-on-one consultation, for a budget council or a spending plan, please don't hesitate to call. That's my phone number at the bottom of the screen. And along with my email address, that's msmith@communityactionuc.org. And we can have appointments over the phone, over Zoom, whatever works. So that's all. I hope that you found this useful. And I hope that you're able to manage this crisis with different tools in the community, and just know that we want to help support our community members. So thanks again for tuning in. And I'm probably going to embarrass myself because I need to figure out how to end this meeting. All right, we'll see you later.